we expect love from others.
Hmm.
The starting point should be we should be the givers.
Right.
And then we attract love from others.
Yep.
The starting point is wrong. We start with a feeling of incompleteness, a feeling that of emptiness. And to fill that void, we reach out to people and expect them to fill the void. So the relationship starts with a selfish attitude
Yep.
that I'm not concerned about you, I'm only concerned about how you will cater to me.
Namaste and welcome to episode 20 of our show on the Bhagavad Gita with Srimati Jaya, a renowned teacher of the Gita and Vedanta. And I'm your host Ajay and also Jayaji's son. Today we're going to discuss how the Bhagavad Gita and Vedanta can help us understand love better and also help us improve our relationships. So Jayaji, doesn't love and don't relationships, and I don't mean just like romantic, but it could be family, friends. Do they not form the bedrock of our lives in some ways?
Absolutely. Actually, if you look around, love is the very foundation of our existence. Without it, life becomes very dry and unsustainable, actually. So it begins with when the child is born and the close connect the child has with the mother. And then in its upbringing, it makes a big difference when the child is brought up in an environment of love, affection, oneness. That's why they say it takes a whole village to bring up a child. You know?
Yeah.
So you see children who are brought up in the larger family with aunts, uncles, friends, all of that. They grow up better, better
Better as in?
connected, they have better relationships with people because they have received love.
Hmm.
And even if you look at the animal kingdom, all animals respond to love, including carnivores. So we've seen on National Geographic and all that, elephants, for instance, coming to pay homage to the person who had taken care of them and he died. Lions and tigers having a connect with their the people who've taken care of them. And we know dogs, dolphins, cows have deep emotion. But somehow we don't seem to take that into consideration at all. In fact, a cow is supposed to yield more milk when it is showered with love. And today there is no love in farms. So, and nature itself is so benevolent, so loving, like the earth gives vegetation, flowers give fragrance. Every aspect of nature seems to be in a benevolent mode, in a loving mode. And in that scenario, the human being is the only one who seems to be out of sync with this. And although we are capable of love and we do love, but that love is polluted by selfishness, by ego, by all kinds of things that we seem to suffer from. And then we say there is no such thing as love.
Yeah. Um, and it's also, I feel like, a very fundamental need, right, for us as human beings. Because no matter how much material wealth, prosperity, respect in society that you may have or adulation, so many of these famous film stars or athletes, they complain about being lonely. And it seems very hard to understand for the common person, but it is true, right? That at some level they have achieved so much, they have acquired so much. So from a material point of view, they're not wanting for anything at all. But yet, without the love, without these relationships, there's a hollowness to life, no?
Yes, but we expect love from others.
Hmm.
The starting point should be we should be the givers.
Right.
And then we attract love from others.
Yep.
Now, what happens is that we start off, the starting point is wrong. We start with a feeling of incompleteness, a feeling that of emptiness. And to fill that void, we reach out to people and expect them to fill the void. So the relationship starts with a selfish attitude
Yep.
that I'm not concerned about you, I'm only concerned about how you will cater to me.
And also, taking from the point that you just made, is that why that there seems to be more friction in relationships now, um, between partners, spouses, sometimes friends, family? There seems to be it feels like it takes very little to upset us. Oh, you said this, how could you say that? Or you did this. And I feel like um maybe sometimes there's a lot of hypersensitivity. I don't know, I could be I mean, I'm just telling you what I the way I see it.
There is, because of the increased selfishness.
Hmm.
So when selfishness rises, that the only thing person in focus is I, myself. So everything else fades into the background. And so you pick on people who will do things for you. So, like when getting married, for instance, a person looks at uh, top qualities in the other person. I often ask them, even if you find a person like this, almost a perfect person, what makes you think so and so will marry you? You know, so there is no understanding, there is no genuine affection. So, in true love, it is just I love you for who you are,
Hmm.
irrespective of what is forthcoming from you. Now, to get there, we must feel a sense of completeness within ourselves. So, only then are you capable of having wonderful, loving relationships. But all of us are incomplete. And this sense of incompleteness is more because we are not spiritually connected.
Hmm.
That spiritual connection has been going down with each generation. So it's just I, me, myself. And then there is ego. So I am the best. Who are you to tell me? So you're like, and therefore there is that hypersensitivity.
And also, I feel like the need to be right,
Yes,
the need to be first. It's a function of ego at the end of the day, but and isn't that also a factor?
a big factor. Whereas now, if you look at the past, just 2 generations back,
Mm.
people lived harmoniously in joint families. And there was a very strong bond in society. So you didn't allow any member of society to go down. Now there is total indifference. So there is a very great need to bring it back, because then, as you said, the fallout of all this is we suffer. We feel lonely. We feel nobody cares for me. We feel,
Yep.
all of this.
Yeah. And even, that documentary where they talk about the blue zones and why people live longer. So, yes, of course, diet, lifestyle are important parts of it. But one of the things that keeps people going is the connections that they have in society.
Yes.
So, that sense of community, that sense of belonging, and amazingly, that's what helps them, live longer.
Just the feeling that someone cares for you.
Yeah.
And there was not so much of this generational distance.
Mm.
So you saw in the same family that grandparents, grandchildren, parents all spent time together.
Mm.
Now that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So a teenager automatically alienates himself from the family, even the parents.
Mm.
How much time do you think a teenager spends with the parents now compared to earlier?
Yeah.
And that starts the alienation.
Mm. When you spoke about this thing about relationships completing us, I was reminded of one of my favorite movies. I remember growing up and during my college days, there was a movie called Jerry Maguire. There's this moment during the movie where Tom Cruise says, to his romantic interest in the movie, he says, "You complete me," and then like my friends use that a lot at back then, not me, but they use that line a lot to their advantage, and so yes, of course, Tom Cruise said, "You complete me," but really, can relationships ever complete us?
No, that's not possible, because only when you are complete do you feel this sense of completion. But what goes on in a movie, or what we actually experience, is that in the initial stages, both parties give of their best.
Mm.
So at that time, it seems as if you're completing me because you are catering to me. But it doesn't last, because the entire personality then starts showing up. But if even when a person has genuine love to give, like you have true love, and your love naturally spreads to others, then it feels good if there is someone who just accepts your love. Because forget giving love, even to receive love, there aren't that many recipients.
Mm.
They don't even understand what you're talking about. But it is so nice if two people gel together, and at least if they're not able to give the love, at least they receive it. Then you don't even need to express in words or action. Just a glance, just an exchange of glances is so uh, thrilling. And that is something that you feel like experiencing.
Mm.
So, in that sense, if you find a recipient of your love, it completes you.
Yeah, but from a spiritual standpoint,
No,
it's not possible, right?
no.
And
And once you receive that, once you get to that completion, you then have wonderful relationships with everyone,
mm,
because then you're a giver.
correct. So, but in relationships, the interaction should come from a place of fullness, not from a lacuna, right?
Absolutely.
Because then what happens is then you become needy. You want things from the other person. There are expectations, and all of these lead to disappointment, right? In
Yes.
relationships.
See, now what is happening is both parties are incomplete.
Hmm.
So both parties are making demands on each other. Both have expectations of each other, and it is impossible to match. So both get frustrated. There's conflict. It's an unsustainable relationship. So
Yeah.
it breaks up.
Yep.
So
So
even if one party, one of the two, has an element of genuine love and acceptance and appreciation and tolerance, the relationship continues.
yep, and you see it.
You
You see
see
it in
that,
life.
yeah.
When I was researching for the episode, I came across this really nice little passage, and it talks about how dogs have pure love. Um, and I thought it would be nice to share it with everyone. Um, and it goes like this. So it says, when mistreated, dogs forgive. When ignored, they still love. When abandoned, they remain loyal. When neglected, they don't judge. They want for one thing only, to hear their human's voice, feel their human's touch, and revel in the nearness of the person they love so unconditionally. Without prejudice, bias, or discrimination, our canine companions epitomize the best of human nature, or what human nature should be. All of which leads me to believe there's a reason why it's often pointed out that dog is God spelled backwards. Because both deity and dog have traits we human beings should all aspire to resemble. Isn't it? It's such a beautiful passage, right? Like about
Yes.
the what pure love is. Isn't this what Vedanta speaks about? You know, pure love and attachment also.
Yes, true. But people may mistake it for passivity.
Hmm.
So the reason why people don't give love is because they feel, oh, it'll be abused, it'll be
Yeah.
taken advantage of.
Yeah.
So this is where Vedanta differs from what
Yeah. Of course.
dogs do.
Yeah.
So Vedanta says your heart must go 100%.
Hmm.
But your intellect must decide your behavior, your conduct, how much to give, how far to give, all of that. So you're never taken for a ride. You're always in command of the relationship.
Yeah.
But in among human beings, what happens is, if at all there are people who have love, they're passive. So they're taken for one big ride and suffer. And so other people see this and say, no, I must withdraw the love, which is not true.
Yeah.
You can love, your heart should go 100%, and your head should decide how, the rest of your behavior. Then you're fine. Also, the second thing is, yes, you must love, but you must be independent. Because that understanding must be there that everyone is selfish. So they want things from you. There is no such thing as pure love both ways. And that everything is temporary in life. So even this relationship, however divine, however good it is going to come to an end. So this is portrayed when Krishna, towards the end, he leaves and goes away. And Radha, who's his consort and the number one disciple, says, how will I live without you? What will I do without you? And Krishna says, see me in all beings. And he goes. So he is detached 100%. He understands that everything is passing, temporary. So he's not in grief. He understands she's in grief, but shows her a way out. So she's attached. So the thing is, wherever there is attachment, there is sorrow, grief. Even when the relationship is going on. And ultimately it breaks, it has to.
So, what would a good relationship look like? So, whether it's, like I said, romantic or friends or family, what should a good relationship look like?
Okay. Starting point should be that there must be an assessment of the other person, an understanding, an acceptance of the person as he or she is. And that understanding is that he's not going to change, she will not change. So if I cannot accept the person as is, then I cannot go ahead with the relationship. But
Right.
only if I accept, then I go ahead. And then I have no expectations. So at least there is an assessment. Like, say, you know that the person is indisciplined. The person is selfish, maybe. The person is, just impulsive. But you can love the person as he or
Yeah.
she is. And thereafter, you have no expectations. You don't expect the person to be disciplined.
Yep.
Like, I'll give you an example with my parents. As you know, my father was extremely disciplined, very punctual, very organized in everything. And my mother was just the opposite. Totally disorganized, unpunctual to the core. So he would get irritated every time he saw this. And we as children would laugh because we knew that she has her good points, but these are her faults. He also cared for her, but he couldn't come to terms with it. So we told him, like when you're going out, you go to the elevator, the lift, you know she is going to take time. So you tell her that you're leaving half an hour earlier. So when it is time for you to leave, she's actually ready. Things like that.
Yeah.
There are little adjustments you have to make for the other person. And a person who has genuine love is at a superior, means is a better person. So somebody asked me, why should I take all the responsibility? Because you are capable of it. The other person is not capable.
So, in a spiritual context, right, we've understood that love and relationships are fundamental to our lives. So, how do we make transform these into part of, or how do we make them part of our spiritual journey?
That's a
Because
lovely.
sometimes um, it becomes, we think that it's all about my journey, and sometimes the family may or may not understand, or may or may not be interested in spirituality the way that I may be. So how do we manage that?
So, as we evolve spiritually, our love also becomes more unselfish, more selfless. And then it spreads to everyone. So, it's not necessary that you love only your spouse and child, it spreads to others naturally. And as it purifies, you begin to see the play of divinity everywhere, that love everywhere. Like a typical example is Wordsworth in the poem Daffodils. And he says, all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils. So he reaches out to those golden daffodils because he understands that is where love is. So your love spreads to other human beings, to creatures, animals, to nature itself. And then at the end of the poem, he says, and then my heart with pleasure filled and dances with the daffodils. So that is the total union, the state of self realization which he's portraying. So that love or bhakti is a very important route to self realization. Bhaktas or devotees like Sant Tukaram or Mirabai may not have had the intellectual alertness or sharpness to study the Gita and Upanishads and all that. They may not know, but just the love takes them there. So it's a very important aspect, and even those pursuing Vedanta or the intellectual approach must develop this love.
Yeah.
It's a very important aspect of our growth as human beings, as our spiritual growth must include this.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you become a philosophy professor
Mm.
and you're looking down at others, you're passing judgment on others, as against accepting.
Yeah, and I think like any relationship, if you're able to anchor the relationship in each other's strengths, right, then you're able to see each other at your best. Otherwise, if we're looking at the flaws all the time. Of course, I mean, there's how will that relationship ever survive, right?
In fact, if you're looking at the flaws, it doesn't mean that the person has flaws. It means you have no love.
Yeah. If that's all you see, yeah.
Yes. Because, see, where there is love, you should see what happens.
Mm.
You love your child. The child has flaws.
Yeah.
But when you look at the child or you think of the child, you only look at what is good about the
Yeah.
person.
So then the question is, how do we take that kind of love to more people in our lives, right? The people that we interact with. Of course, then the nature of the love will change depending on who it is and what the nature of the relationship is. But otherwise, that's the challenge to us from a spiritual standpoint.
Yes.
Um,
We must make a conscious effort to reach out to people, to understand their problems, which we don't do.
Empathy.
Empathy.
Yeah.
And understand that I also have faults. So the other person has faults. We may have different faults, but we have them. So then there is a connect.
In Vedanta, there's a very clear demarcation between love and attachment. So could you elaborate on that, please?
Yeah. Um, it's very simple. Love plus selfishness is attachment. We are all selfish. So, to the extent we're selfish, the love component goes down and the self interest goes up. And that is basically a recipe for disaster in a relationship.
So now shall we move on to a study of the Gita,
Yes.
where on chapter 3, verse 14. So we'll begin with the invocation.
ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
So in chapter 3, verse 14, Lord Krishna says, beings are sustained by food. Food comes from rain. Rain is born of yajna, sacrifice, and yajna is born of action. That's verse 14. In verse 15, he says, no action to have emerged from Brahma, and Brahma emerged from the imperishable. Therefore, the all pervading Brahman is ever established in yajna.
So, in these two verses, he's actually giving the theory of creation.
Okay.
Like, how did all this come about? There is Brahman, unmanifest divinity. And then a vasana pops out. And that is called Brahma, the creator. So, Brahma, the male god, different from Brahman, neuter gender in Sanskrit, which represents that godhood. So, Brahma came out of Brahman. He has put it the reverse way. So, we are putting it right.
Yeah.
So, the vasana comes. Vasana means desire. Out of that comes action. And then purified action is yajna, sacrificial action. Wherever there is sacrificial action, there is prosperity. There's rain. And then out of rain comes produce, food. So all beings. Now, this is what the line of manifestation is. Now, if you want to go back to Brahman, you have to go through yajna. So yajna is the center point around which the whole universe functions. So he's already introduced the concept of yajna earlier. In these two verses, he's only telling us how important it is. Sacrifice, sacrificial action is the pivot around which the whole thing operates. So you can't give it up.
And unselfishness, right? Selflessness.
Yajna is, yes, to work in a spirit of service and sacrifice for a higher cause.
Yeah. So, shall we move on to verse 16?
Yes.
Yeah. So, in verse 16, Lord Krishna says, O Partha, son of Pritha, that person lives in vain who does not follow the wheel set revolving here, who leads a sinful life, delighting in the senses.
So he's given us this yajna, the importance of yajna and the wheel.
Yeah.
He says, if you don't follow it, what happens? You live in vain, because we have all come into existence. We are born only to get there.
Yeah.
And it seems as if the whole universe is designed such that it's made to help us reach there. And if you don't, it's such a pity. The Kenopanishad says, Iha cheda vedi atha satyam asti. Means if you live this life, it is the truth, it is satyam. If you don't live it, he uses the word mahati vinashti. Nashti is loss. Vinashti is supreme loss. Mahati vinashti, supreme, most of supreme losses. And he puts it so well, and still we just don't get it. And you see it. See, any person, any civilization, any group of people, any organization that runs without this sacrifice ultimately degenerates and is just finished. You take a look at the Roman Empire, the Greeks, all of these came into being. There's a lot of prosperity. The people who at the top just became corrupt, and it went downhill. This is what is happening in the world today. You look at even nations. Nigeria, I think in the 1950s, discovered a whole lot of oil. They could have been a rich nation. But today, even today, 40% of their people are in poverty. And because of this corruption, because of sense indulgence, that's what he's saying here. And at the end of it, you're not even happy. You lead a sinful life. Sinful doesn't mean sin in the normal sense. Yeah. Sin means mental agitation.
Yep.
So you're not even happy. So what are you doing all this for then?
Yeah, and we talk about this a lot on the show, and this is what the Gita is all about, right? It's about infusing some substance and meaning in our lives while enjoying the material world, right?
Absolutely.
It's not like you have to live a life of asceticism or anything like that, but just a fundamental need. It's a prerequisite for enjoying life and lending meaning to it.
Even success.
Yeah.
You see, in any field, whether it's a sports person or a musician or an artist or you, me, who are the people who succeed? The people who put in hard work. There was a classical musician who apparently was the only person in that entire unit who used to sit there till 11:30 at night doing riyaz, and that person excelled. So we don't understand. We think easy money, we run after easy money. There is no such thing as easy money.
Yeah. Or instant returns.
Yes.
Yeah. Moving on to verse 17, Lord Krishna says, "But the one who delights in the self is fulfilled in the self and is supremely content in the self alone, has no duty to perform."
This is an amazing thing. These two verses, 17 and 18, give exceptions to this. So, up to now, he has said action is a must. Everyone must perform action. So, now he is giving the exceptions to that rule. Now, once you reach the state of enlightenment, you have no desires for the world. You are not a stakeholder in the enjoyment of the world. So, you have no obligation. You're not obliged to act. And so, he's following it scientifically, like in a science, you give exceptions to a rule. So this is the exception. But yet, every person who has reached realization has done enormous service to society in whatever way they have functioned. But they just do obligatory duty. They have no desire.
Yeah.
But in the relative, its interpretation in the relative is important for us. Because as you grow, like for instance, you have no interest in partying, or you have no interest in going to the club and spending the weekend there, then you're not obliged. It doesn't do anything for you. You have no desire for it. You don't need to go. Like a person who's not interested in fashion doesn't need to go to a fashion show. That's what he means.
Yeah.
So when you look at your life and see what you did, because often what happens is some activity that you've started in the past, you continue and you reach a stage where you have grown spiritually, you've grown out of it, but you still continue to do it because it's become a habit. And it consumes a lot of time, effort, and energy. So you can clip it.
Yep. So I think with that, we've come towards the end of today's show. Um, are there some key takeaways that you'd like to leave us with?
Yes. The first thing we looked at is love.
Yeah.
And a person with genuine love is so attractive that the aura itself is so appealing to people that and that shows that everyone is yearning for love. So the moment they find it, it's like iron to magnet. You are attracted to such a person. And once you have it, it's such a satisfying thing. So that is very important. It's very important in our spiritual growth. And then we looked at love and attachment. You read that bit about the dog, which seems to indicate unconditional love. And that's a beautiful thing. Then we moved on to the Bhagavad Gita and saw how sacrifice was the pivot around which the whole universe functions. So out of Brahman comes the creator and an action and purified action, which gives prosperity and beings. And how do you get back? Through yajna. And then we saw Krishna reiterates that if you don't function, if you don't follow this, then you're a loser all the way. And then the last thing we looked at is the exceptions to action, to karma yoga.
Right. Okay. So shall we close with the invocation?
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Okay, everyone, thank you so much for joining us this week. As always, it was a pleasure to present these ideas to you along with Jayaji. And if you have, as always, if you have any questions, you have any feedback, please do share them in the comments. And if you feel that you've benefited from this knowledge, please do share it with your friends and family so that they could benefit from it too. See you. Have a great week ahead. Bye.